Is it cheating? I don't think so. I don't see how it's cheating if it's allowed in combat. It's allowed in combat sports, right? But there's a time limit. As long as you're not sitting there like fucking watching the VOD. I think cheating is a very strong word. Slowing down the set, yes. And I think they're talking about Tekken too. So Tekken games are pretty long. I think it's 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5 rounds, right? So Tekken games are long. So like Tekken tournaments take a fucking long time compared to like Guilty Gear and shit. It's like Dragon Ball speed. The fact that one player could have someone look, I mean the other player can do it too though. It's not like both players can't do it. Yeah, cheating is a strong word. Like it making the viewing experience annoying, that's one thing, but I don't think it's cheating. Yeah, it is true, and it's true. That's a good point. It's not like coaching gives a W anytime. And not only that, like I've had people. This is definitely maybe recurring, but the classic old fighting games. If you're a fighting game zoomer, if you're like a Striver SF6er, you do not know what I'm about to say. But if you ask any other fighting game boomer, especially people playing around like 2010 to 2015 or so, anyone who played fighting games then, the absolute classic is you go somewhere, right? I go to fucking Virginia or Florida or Atlanta. We're at Final Round. We're at fucking CEO. We're at Civil War, right? Maybe I go with a homie or two. Let's say I go with one homie. We go with the homie Flux, okay? I'm playing somebody. It's like top 8. I win the first game. Some dude or a couple of dudes, maybe at max 4, either go up the stage or go like by the stage, and they fucking like say some shit. Next game, person is fucking mashing their ass off. Or the other one is after a game ends, you hear people screaming, "Stop respecting him! Stop respecting him! Stop!" I'm like, you're literally telling them to fucking mash more. Like, what the fuck? I used to be like, dude, people are so dumb. I used to fucking hate on people so much more. Like, if you think I'm bad now, shit on characters. I used to be like, dude, these fucking people are idiots, bro. Like, why aren't you mashing? You're respecting him too much. Get the dude. But it doesn't happen anymore. That shit is gone, and I'm so happy. You know what's funny? People get mad when people are like, "Oh, I hate it when people go USA, USA." That's my USA chant. Instead of hearing just MASH, I hear them screaming USA, and I'm just getting fucking angry. I'm getting so mad. I get so mad when people scream, "Stop respecting him." Dude, I'm in tears actually thinking about it. Like, okay, this is actually something that does happen though. This is something that happens now, but it doesn't involve the crowd. It's like, this happens in Strive very often actually. You win 2 games straight, you're cooking. I'm like, this shit's free. I'm cooking this top 8, right? Then, person goes back to character select screen, looks at the character, they're going like this, like, go into the game, round start, they swing, far slash, 5H, wild assault, far slash, 5H, wild assault, cold slash. I'm in the corner immediately, and I'm like, you spent 2.5 minutes thinking about what to do, and it was fucking and it got to the point that if someone does that, I dead ass start the round with 6 peaks. I'm like, this motherfucker's gonna just do button wild assault to me from the start of the round like a fucking I think USA Chan is hype too, by the way. I think USA Chan is hype. I know there's a Twitter thing, some people get really annoyed. Let me explain myself. I'm one of the few and lucky people who play internationally. So I travel to tournaments internationally too. And honestly, even in Canada, they fucking be pouring maple syrup all over you and shit, bro, when you lose rounds and shit, dude. Like, yeah, they all be doing, and don't even get me started on LATAM. Like, a lot of places they be shitting on you while you're playing. I mean, also not to mention being an American, because Quotes is right, being an American in other regions of the US, you get shit on too.
I don't know why. Like, it didn't used to be this way for honestly any game. Like, the breaks between matches, because people are constantly having someone come up and coach between every single one, is so wild. Part of the fighting game experience is like, it's supposed to be reasonably fast on a rules level. And I'm not saying anybody is like breaking the rules necessarily, but it does slow down quite a bit for some.
I think a time limit is pretty fair. At CEO, there was a money match. It's Nitro versus Newbreaker, and I told Nitro like I think 2 things after like watching 2 games, and people were like, "Yo, no coaching," and I was like, "Hey, I just told him to mash more." Also, Nitro won that. my goat.
I think coaching in fighting games is one of those things that can or can't have a big impact depending on the level of coaching you get and how much time you have. There are moments where someone could give you advice that's like pretty pertinent, whether the advice is like something about the game, something your opponent's doing, something as simple as like stop hitting buttons here. Like just every time you hit buttons here, you always die. Stop.
The reason why I don't think coaching is a huge deal is because like, okay, let's take GG, right? Let's say because like K-Shoot's in chat. Let's say K-Shoot doesn't know shit about Testament, right? And game 1 loses to Testament, and they're like, okay, what do I do? I was like, honestly, there's so much shit you have to do. I can't tell them anything in 60 seconds. Like in my head, I don't know what it's like for Tekken. I don't know what they tell each other. Because I know Tekken is seems to be like a numbers game from like my experience of it, of like you got to use this data, make these choices and these adaptations and stuff. If there's a pattern of something that's recurring, like that's pretty helpful. But if it's like shit you don't know about the matchup in general, it's kind of hard to convey. So there have been examples of people who ask me like, oh, okay, I got to play like a Faust player before. What should I do? And I'm like, what character do you play? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay, depending on the character, it's like I can tell them something simple or not. So like if a Viking player asks me, hey, I'm gonna play a Faust player, what should I do? I'm like, if you're asking me now, you're fucked. If you asked me like last week, we could probably work on it. Usually they'll tell them numbers or button placement or strings are weak to one side or is fuzzyable or player tendencies in certain scenarios, which could be big. Yeah, no, that's huge. I think that's probably like the big, like preparing for tournaments type thing. Knowing something specifically about a player is really big. I actually thought that was one of my big advantages is like people are just don't know shit about Baiken. So if you don't play a Doom matchup, like Sinaska, HE, Faust type matchups, and there's something you don't know about Baiken, you're probably fucked. Yeah, player knowledge will supersede character and matchup knowledge at the highest levels. That's why people hide their VODs. It kind of depends, because when you're talking about player, it's like what type of player, right? Like it's so much more likely, like let's say like a me or Leffen or Jonathan type, where we're like number situations types. Knowing how that type of player picks shit will help you. But if it's somebody who's kind of like an instinctual player or tends to just do shit that like they want, like Hotashi's like peak of that. Like if someone was like, how do you beat Hotashi? I wouldn't tell them stuff about Hotashi. That doesn't help fighting him because he doesn't really play the game by the numbers like that. Really, he's kind of like you gotta force him to play by the rules, and if you can't, you're not gonna beat him ever. No, understanding a person definitely helps, but like getting that info mid set is not gonna help really.
There's a lot of comparisons people make, comparing it to MMA or boxing or other events like that.
I've heard this
and those
too.
things are like designated breaks in the action. And coaches in these things have worked with you for like months and months and months. And their whole job, part of it is the ringside coaching that comes in.
That's kind of a good point. There's not naturally breaks between games in a fighting game set. And usually people get mad when you take a big break. There's at NLBC, there's a player from NLBC in Dragon Ball where many people got annoyed of a certain player taking very long breaks during sets or like during especially during grands, like grand final resets and stuff. They would fucking like legit stop playing for a long time and stuff. But like it's a good point of like in combat sports, it's like you play and then break and you play and then break. It's like built into the flow where like once a fighting game set starts, it's basically assumed that you just play, and the most breaks that you take are like just mental refreshes and like going back to character select and stuff like that, you know.
A dynamic where like people who have someone with them, somebody who has a coach available to them, they get way more benefit out of it than if somebody doesn't, right? So like if somebody travels here from outside the US and they don't have anybody with them from wherever they're from.
Yeah, the homie could be watching though. I don't know if he's gonna say that point. The homie could be watching. I used to have friends text me while I was playing set. That shit used to piss me off though, but because also they would say cap shit like you need to DP more and stuff. I'm like, bro, come on, bro, you got DP human more. I'm like, okay, thanks for the advice.
All their friends, because all their friends are at the tournament, they're at a disadvantage in terms of this coaching time, right? Because they can't really utilize the coaching time. So then it becomes also like if you can travel with your friends and afford that kind of stuff, or travel with your coach or whoever.
The big part about traveling, the big advantage about traveling with friends is not coaching, is that you have people, you know that there are people in the building who have you. That shit is so valuable because your mental may change while you're playing. Even if you have like a rock solid mental, sometimes it'll change a little bit. And just knowing that there's someone there for you, even like one person, is like really reassuring. Like one thing especially when I was feeling like really emo about going to tournaments alone and stuff all the time, was I started being like, there's no one here, right? Because I obviously after this, I have people like, that's my boy, or he's from this, so like, like you're cool, but like this guy's from, I get that a lot. I get that. I'm never gonna like get mad that people say that. I get that. It happens all the time. I get it. So it's just a product of there's no one from where I am who goes to stuff. So the thing that I used to use to like calm down when that shit was happening was like, okay, there's no one here, but there are people watching, so like that's fine. Goku's asking for energy for the spirit bomb, you know what I mean? It's like that shit. I think it's weird that everyone has anti-coaching stuff, but the FGC has no rules about so much shit. Yeah, I do think these things are going to be added over time as the stakes go up. I think the main reason there's no rules is just the stakes were not so high that people cared enough to do it. Side note, you remember that the first year with the Evo Online, I got coached by the chess grandmaster guy about how to handle tournaments, just generally handle my tournament day. So I was here just fucking like after every couple of sets, I fucking went outside. I got the fucking had bought the shit to eat, or I still do the shit that he told me to do to this day. These little things help because it's such a unexplored basically genre of competition. There's a bunch of unique things about fighting games, specifically I think compared to a lot of other competitive aspects, even like some other competitive games, like the fact you have to learn a new game every couple of years. So even if you're like world class in one game, you have to reset and like have the skill to actually learn like some new shit. So like some people do that fine, and some people just like the easy short-term way to put it is like Dragon Ball to Guilty Gear. So all the Dragon Ball players tried Guilty Gear, who actually stayed from Dragon Ball to Guilty Gear, and who went back. Right? Some people don't go to the next thing because they'll say their reasons, but like in the end, especially if you're pursuing this like full time, you have to be able to do it. You literally have to be able to do it. If not, like that thing you were at is gonna get less relevant, less money. Maybe the hardcore people who are really into you will stay, but it's going to be really hard to get new eyes on you and shit. I wasn't even really playing new fighting games for that reason. I just liked playing new fighting games, and I kept thinking man, like if I keep playing this, there's only gonna be like 10-man tournaments and stuff, and like part of the reason I do this is for the comp, so having a ton of new people on a new game is always like kind of cool.
And basically the short version of his coaching was, whatever you do, don't grab. Like, it's hard commitment to an option or hard commitment to no option. Clearly it mattered, right? It was an important part of the set. And also, he had time between the sets to like figure stuff out on his own too. It's not like Big Bird can't think about stuff. You can't just like trivialize it as like the coaching is not impactful, because I think it can be very impactful
when the right person is doing it is a big thing too. Because they both play, right? So he had another GOAT tell him shit. You need to find the right person. That thing is really big. The right person can tell you shit, especially when you already know the matchup and you're good. The right person can tell you in like 30 seconds or less, honestly.
I also am of the opinion that I'm all down for not getting coached. Like, you get your coaching pre-match, but you don't get it like in the middle. It's so disruptive and it's very impactful. Yeah, that's another thing. Tekken tournament, someone wins 3 straight rounds, dominant performance. They perfected them like the last round, like they're looking good. Someone goes up on the stage to coach them. I'm like, what are you gonna say?
The thing I feel him on is the breaking the pace of the set. And I think it's a Tekken exclusive thing, because you have to. Is it you have to go back to character select and then stage select, or is it you go straight back to stage select but just like long loading time? Because that does vary. But breaking up the time like that between games, I think, is not good. But the actual advice helping that, I just don't see as like a good reason to not do it. I don't know. I feel like most arguments boil down to fighting games haven't done this, even though other sports do. It mostly strikes me as fear of change argument. Yeah, I the main thing I kind of am with is definitely the time aspect. As far as actually coaching mid-set, I don't see it. I just really don't see it as a problem, especially like if you consider other games too, like games where like take Strive, right? The stage doesn't matter, so that 60 seconds is legit 60 seconds. Let's say there's the same rule timing wise. That 60 seconds is literally just 60 seconds. They just rematch, and like there's not even a load screen. You just go. It's just instant rematch in Strive. I think it just ends up being a time and pacing problem in Tekken, and streaming. So then the commentators have to fucking I forget the term, but they have to like fill dead air during this and like over and over. Like I get that. It's like Tekken is uniquely annoying in that aspect, I guess. uniquely annoying in that aspect, it seems. I think they might have to cut the time down slightly to deal with that. It's just a product of like the game takes a long time. You have to leave the game while you're playing sets, I think. Plus the time you want to take for coaching, where in other games it's not an issue. It makes sense. I guess it's why you don't hear of it as a problem in other games. I mean, also again, it's not common. It's not super common yet. I feel like it's definitely like full-time players, like national level, international players only do this because they also have access to coaches who know enough about the game that their advice will matter a lot. Because for example, if you're like even like a regional person, right? Because regional level players are pretty good. It's not like they're not good. But it's like if they're a regional level player with somebody getting coached by somebody of the same skill level, that advice is not gonna help them that much, maybe, right? Where if you have like equivalent, like someone who's national or international with somebody on that level helping, then like that's gonna, the shit they say is gonna matter maybe a lot if they're good at like expressing the ideas and things that you should actually do. Games like Apex, Overwatch have coaches. Yeah, and again, like Smash has been doing this shit for a minute. Like I said, there's an aspect of this in Strive, but it's not during tournaments. It's the like the Zato Bros or the Biken Bros. Like there's multiple people who all come and play the same character. They agree to work together in a small group and like push the character and figure out strategies and stuff like that. If you're getting gapped by a coach, either get better or be a pro and get a coach. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. This thing sounds specifically like it's worse in Tekken because of that, because of time stuff, and they got to just figure that out.